Did he? Did he?
Did he or didn't he? That is the question. 2024, the year of the stabbings.
It was.
Keir Starmer gave what can only be described as the Nigel Farage speech.
High five.
Did you have it
That's what I was like, come on. Hello and welcome to Informally Informed. I'm Garcia.
And I'm Izzy.
The shit.
What?
That's what I'm dubbing you now. Izzy the shit. That's what I'm calling you. So I'm changing all our social media to Izzy the shit.
Why?
Because of your attitude.
My
To work on
attitude's
it.
amazing.
If that's what you want to say. Anyway. Today we'll be looking back on the year 2024. The dumpster fire that was 2024. And recounting all of our the most important bits, I guess. The things that stood out to us the most.
Yeah.
And the dumpster fire that was 2024. Yeah, so that's what we'll be talking about.
The highs and the lows.
More lows than highs.
I think there were some good moments in 2024. It's just that I think you say that about every year, though. Most people just remember the negatives more than the positives.
It's a human condition to remember the negatives. And I know that I'm human. No comment.
I like to
the jury's
positive
out on that.
in life.
No, you don't.
I do.
Tell that to your resting bitch face.
Investing in bitch face doesn't mean that.
I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to save this for another day. Because I'm not here to assassinate your character.
Oh, really?
Well, we'll see how the episode goes. Anyway, so let's start.
Let's start with world.
Mm.
Okay, so 2024 was the largest election year in history. Over 70 countries went to the poll. That's half the population of the world. Near enough. Well, I mean, they were eligible.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all right. I'm like, don't know, the math's not mathing.
Of the 70 countries, nearly half the population lives in those 70 countries. So we had Italy, we had Maloney come in. We obviously had the US, the UK, India, Pakistan, which was a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the election was rigged. It is what it is.
Russia.
Even though they claimed that it wasn't. Russia.
It was
Did
rigged.
Russia have a?
They did. Putin won again. Unsurprisingly.
Oh, yeah, calling me shocked. Speaking of rigged elections, France had an election, and then the Prime Minister was promptly ousted from that position not long
Barnier.
after.
Yep.
Good old Barnier. Indonesia. And it was a really bad year for incumbents. Even the places where the incumbents won, places like India, they lost a big majority. Like the Prime Minister of India was expected to do super well, and he didn't. I mean, he held on.
That Modi.
Modi. Yeah. And then the only country of all the elections, of the major economies, I should say, that the incumbent actually did better was Mexico.
And they elected their first female president. Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for you, Mexico. Hopefully she cleans up all the gang stuff.
Yeah.
Drugs, cartels.
Like, what's that country in Central America?
Colombia?
Central
Argentina.
America, no, Central America.
Oh, that's South America.
El Salvador.
Oh, yeah.
I also wanted to talk about Argentina and Milei.
Go on.
So, Milei went in with some pretty ruthless policies. He cut tens of thousands of government employees. He put the country into massive austerity, cut all the infrastructure projects, all that kind of thing, cut a lot of the dead waste and potentially some of the non-dead waste. But bear in mind, Argentina's, and he's done all of this without losing any approval rating. He's still on 50% approval rating, which I think just goes to show the shit that Argentina was in beforehand, because inflation was over 25% per month. Per month. A year later, it's down to 2.7% per month.
Do you think Starmer could take a a leaf out of his book.
Well, Argentina was very overly regulated, very, very heavily regulated. Milei is a free marketeer. He's cut a lot of that regulation, and obviously we've seen increased unemployment rates, and we've seen increased poverty levels because people have been unemployed. But the inflation rate is going down. It just goes to show how bad inflation was that people knew. Because Milei got elected on the promise that things were going to get a hell of a lot worse before they got better. Like, he said this, and the fact that people still voted for him, and the fact that he managed expectations as well, so everybody was fully aware that this is what's going to happen, has helped with him not losing his approval rating. And I think now that that year's over, they can continue to decrease inflation, and hopefully go about building back better.
Okay.
But you know what I mean?
Because we've got loads to get through.
And then the only other real things that I had on the world, if it's categorising them into like world and then the UK, is what is the Sudan, Middle East and Russia.
Okay, yeah. I've also got those things on my list. Conflict in the Sudan has ramped up. Thousands have been killed, and if more spotlight isn't
Millions have been displaced.
Yep, millions have been displaced, and if more spotlight isn't put on what's happening in the Sudan, it's going to cause the biggest humanitarian crisis the world has ever seen. So,
France have troops on the ground.
Yep.
There. Yeah.
The war in Ukraine. Obviously, Ukraine was the world's bread basket, and the war is still ongoing. And I don't see that coming to an end anytime soon. I know people think that Trump's going to come in and do some magic stuff, but I don't see that ending anytime soon. But I do think that now that Europe's rearming itself, we shall see what happens. Let's see what happens.
We'll save that for our next episode.
We will.
Which is predictions.
Yeah.
For the year to come.
Yeah. Obviously, the conflict that's happened in Israel, you just mentioned that. Israel. I have a lot of thoughts on that as well. Free Palestine. I said what I said. I'm not taking it back.
I'm Switzerland. I think both sides have committed war crimes. No, I don't. I think to put yourself on the morality of one side over the other is a failure to recognise a lot of things that the other side have done. So I'm
putting myself on the side of the people that are going through a genocide. That's what I'm putting myself at. But
I don't see it as a genocide.
Fair enough.
But based on the dictionary definition, which is a deliberate attempt to wipe out an entire group of people based on that group identity, and I don't think that's what Israel's doing.
Oh, well, I do. But we can go back.
I think they're committing war crimes, but that's not the same thing as
we
genocide.
can go back and forth on this, but we've got a lot to get through. But I do think there is a genocide, but that's fine. For me, for the world, I mean, Donald Trump.
Well done, America, is all I'm saying. Yeah, Donald Trump got elected, but obviously he doesn't get inaugurated. That's going to be my prediction episode. I predict that Donald Trump will be inaugurated on January the 20th.
I also
call me a psychic, but
obviously we saw the repeal of Roe v. Wade this year as well.
Was that this year?
That was this year. And we saw out the.
Are you sure?
Yeah, and we saw the.
People have been talking about that for ages.
But it went into effect this year.
Oh, okay.
And we also saw the outcry for that. Yeah, we saw real world consequences of that coming into fruition. Women crossing state lines to get abortions. In other world things, I wrote climate change, because what we saw across the globe was devastating floods and wildfires. So even if you're a climate change denier, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. We had a summer this year in the UK that lasted more than 2 weeks. Climate change. Climate change. But the devastating floods that have ravaged the world, Spain is underwater.
I think the floods,
Pakistan, underwater.
It's a good signifier of climate change, but I'm not buying the forest fires, because there's been loads of regulation that gone into effect that causes forest fires to get worse. So I think it's hard to pin down onto what exactly the cause would be. So if they stopped regulated fires and stuff like that, So basically, what that means is if you have controlled fires around certain, you're burning the debris in a controlled setting. Whereas if you don't have that, forest fires spread a lot quicker. And so a lot of these climate policies they brought in had the opposite effect. So it's hard to pin. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's hard to pin down.
Okay, well, I've written that on my list because for me, climate change is real. And also, I mean, I don't know what the UK is doing with the US thing, but I do know that corporations make the most. They've added more onto climate change than individuals.
I think the CAS, which is the Manchester Clean Air Zone, they stopped bringing that into effect when people protested about it, but I think that was 2023. I don't think that was 2024. Could be wrong.
Moving on from world?
Yeah, the UK. Gosh, well. 2024, the year of the stabbings.
It was.
And I'm not just talking about Ickle Kiddywinks either.
No.
After the Southport stabbings, there was a series of other terrorist attacks. Because people get ideas into their head, they see one person do it and they go, that guy stabbed a couple of kids, I want to do that too. And that happened. It was covered, but not as extensively as the Southport stabbings and the riots that followed. Because, I mean, what else is an unemployed person supposed to do other than loot some Gregs, I guess? Jump on the old bandwagon.
See, I'm not jumping into this with you because a lot of employed people were also there fighting for their area, fighting for the kids. That was the stuff.
I'm not talking about the protests. I'm talking about the riots.
I was going to say
the
protests turned into riots that turned into looting, as it does whenever these things are happening. But also in the UK, we saw a lot of.
I agreed with the protests.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't agree with the rioting.
But we saw a lot of protests across the UK. We saw a lot of walkouts in terms of people walking out of their jobs to protest things. Recently, there was the A&E department in Manchester.
Really? Didn't have that.
Yeah, there was an A&E department, Manchester Royal. The A&E department walked out. Yeah, and there was what else has happened in the UK? So England,
Starmer, the farmer harmer. The granny and farmer harmer.
Yeah.
So you've had, speaking of protests, the farmers' protests in London, which, Keir Starmer, the Labour government's new policies will effectively put an end to British farming. Mm-hmm. We've had the removal of the winter fuel allowance, which is going to mean a lot of pensioners struggle in winter.
Yep. That's in my predictions, but we'll get there.
But again, we can't know for definite. I've read articles like up to 4,000 pensioners, this, that, and the other. And to me, all these predictions could potentially just be what they did with COVID. This year, up to so many people could die of X, Y, Z. We don't know that. People do like to fearmonger. Let's wait until we get the verdict to find out how much damage the winter fuel allowance is, as opposed to relying on all these predictions. I'm not defending Keir Starmer, I'm just pointing that out.
Moving on from Keir Starmer, because I'm hoping that that's in my prediction that he gets ousted. Jeremy Corbyn got elected as an independent in the UK elections. He used to be the leader of the Labour Party, but lost in the general elections and then ousted from his party because Keir Starmer's a bitch. England lost the Euros this year.
Yes.
I was devastated. I know that you were like, why do you care? I was devastated.
It's not even the why you care. It was more the fact that how did you not see this coming?
I didn't see it
England
coming.
never lose anything.
We have the. I was devastated and I remain devastated. We lost to Spain. Anyway, Arsenal lost a title race by 1 point. The 2023-2024 season, which ended in May. I was devastated by that too. Do you know what? A lot of sporting devastation for me.
I'm not a big follower of sports, so I mean, it is what it is.
The Olympics happened.
The Olympics happened. That's on my list. Yeah. Didn't tune in for it really. I watched some of the sailing. I watched the windsurfing. That was dead good.
Well, I'm Jamaican, so
I like water sports.
I watched the athletics and I watched the opening ceremony because I always do, and I saw the Last Supper drag queen thing, and that was a big controversy. That's an interesting thing. The eclipse happened this year. Didn't really happen in the UK, but we went to see it in America.
Eclipse happens every year.
Yeah.
It happens every year somewhere. It does.
Yeah, but we also saw that this year.
Have we moved on to entertainment?
Not yet. Does the eclipse count as entertainment?
Sure, I guess.
I mean, we were entertained.
entertaining.
We
Yeah,
were entertained. Yeah, anything else for the UK?
Where'd you put the eclipse in the UK? No, never mind. It is what it is.
It is a
Anything
world
else?
event, I guess.
Oh, yes, I did have another one. I had two other ones. The Tory leadership changed to Kemi Badenoch.
Do you know what? She's also on my list, but further in the my predictions for the next year. But yes, Kemi Badenoch.
And
now
Keir
the leader of
Starmer's...
the Conservative Party.
Keir Starmer's somewhat unpredictable, I would say, recent views on immigration. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh. Keir Starmer gave what can only be described as the Nigel Farage speech, in which he said that mass immigration has been deliberately and artificially designed in order to basically destroy the UK economically, and it needs stopping and people need deporting, and
Ooh.
he gave a whole... I didn't buy it. I think he's doing it to regain his popularity.
Yeah, because he called everybody right wing, and I'm not trying to be funny, but that's not a very leftist view, is it?
By design. The words that Keir Starmer used were by design.
Interesting. I'll have to watch
And
it.
half of me's like, bravo sir, and then I have to catch myself and I'm like, what am I doing?
It's Keir Starmer.
It's Keir Starmer. There's
Okay.
nothing that man can say that makes me think that he's actually
I will never
serious
support him,
about this.
even if he came to my house and bought me Haribos, enough Haribos that I can swim in it. I still wouldn't support him.
So that's going to be interesting, because I hope people aren't going to fall for it. I mean, if in the space of the next year he does what he says, closes the borders, stops mass immigration, starts deporting illegally, does all the things he says he's going to do, all the things that he's claiming.
I won't hold my breath. I'll
But
die.
this is the thing. I'm not holding my breath.
No, I'll die if
I'm not holding my
breath waiting for him.
And that's pretty much... Oh, and I also put Labour's approval ratings have dropped, but we covered that.
Yep.
In the UK, anyway. Entertainment, you already mentioned sport, but I put the football and the Olympics and stuff in the entertainment category.
Okay, so for entertainment stuff, I wrote a list.
I wrote a couple of things.
Did he? Did
he or didn't he? That is the question.
Well, the trial of the century will probably happen next year, but did he? He was obviously indicted on charges this year, and from what I've read of the reports, he's going down after the assault of Cassie Ventura, no longer alleged because there was a video evidence, and subsequently the current alleged raping. Oh, I can't say that, can I? Well, I've said it now. What Jay-Z is accused of. A 13-year-old girl. Yeah.
Less eyebrows, but also
Fiddly.
eyebrows.
Fiddly. So we'll see. I mean, Jay-Z's going after people left, right and centre. I don't want us to be sued. So, allegedly.
Is he suing people that say you did it?
Yeah, he's doing the most. So, the lady doth protest too much.
But to be fair, if you're wrongly accused, you probably see people for slander too. So I don't think you can necessarily use that as evidence that he did it. I'm not saying, I'm sure he did, but I'm just saying you can't.
Allegedly. The rap beef that took place earlier this year, the biggest rap beef that's happened in the last 20 years.
To mankind.
Yes, that was Kendrick v. Drake. Obviously, Kendrick won. And has,
obviously,
as such, the fall of Drake.
Obviously.
That also happened this year.
Obviously.
Kendrick was named to be heading the Super Bowl in 2025, so we'll see how that pans out. And other celebrities being named in this freak-off situation with Diddy.
Beyonce?
Allegedly. J-Lo? Allegedly.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Allegedly.
Who else allegedly? Give me the name.
I'm not entirely sure. There's none that were named.
Come on, this is supposed to be your specialty subject.
So there's none that's been named in the 70-page document. The 70-page legal what's it called when you put in when you indictment, that's the one. There's no one else that was named as such. But if you remember the presser that was given at the time that Diddy was arrested, the police came out and said your faves will be named. So we'll see.
Your whose?
Faves, your favourites. The names to be are probably going to be quite shocking. So, but no.
And
so
the
far,
lotion,
baby oil,
the baby oil.
baby oil. Who
He had
needs that
loads
much
of baby
slicking?
oil, and they reckon that he killed people with the baby oil accidentally. So there was something in the baby oil.
Uh-huh.
There
Oh,
was like
he
a
was drugging
sedative,
people because he was drugging people
with the baby oil.
Oh,
And there was a couple of
ingenious.
people.
No, I'm joking.
And so they found this sedative in the baby oil, so people were putting it on not realising it was a sedative. And it's basically, the running theory, allegedly, is that he was date raping people with the baby oil.
So, allegedly, he was date raping people with the alcohol.
And there was some incidences where some people were, I think, Usher,
Allegedly.
ended up with some sort of illness or whatever, and they couldn't put it down to, but apparently the sedative in the baby oil gives those effects, and apparently, allegedly, somebody died. I don't know who. I'm getting second-hand information as a result of them taking the baby. But obviously can't prove it one way or another because
we're going to have to do a
goodie
Giddy episode because I've got so much to say on this.
But apparently this person died, can't remember who it was, quite a while ago. Oh, no, a known person. I can't remember the blooming name. It's going to annoy me. Anyway. And the symptoms matched this reaction to the sedation that they were unknowingly taking, especially if you take high quantities of it.
That happened this year. But yeah, all of that happened this year. All of that happened this year.
All of that happened this year.
What a year it was.
I want to add as well the new Harry Potter TV series on entertainment. The new Harry Potter TV series started making production decisions. I am really excited about the fact that they got one of the main producers is the same woman who did His Dark Materials. Yeah. The BBC adaptation. I'm super excited about that because that was a really good adaptation.
Izzy's obsessed with Harry Potter, by the way.
I think the people who watch us regularly will probably know it by now.
But for anybody just newly tuning in, Izzy's obsessed with Harry Potter, like, biblically.
Yeah. We're gonna do politics of Harry Potter. We're gonna do all this sort of stuff because one has to feed one's addiction somehow.
Like did he fed it? No, no.
Too soon.
Yeah, too soon.
And the only other thing that I really had on the entertainment category was a new Wicked movie.
Of course, that was the last thing. High five.
Did you have it?
That was the last thing. Come on.
Great minds.
Wicked was released. Like a few weeks ago now, I think, and it was amazing. We loved it.
But
Not so much Ariana.
I've seen Wicked 8 or 9 times.
I've seen it 5 or 6 times.
We watched Ben Shapiro's review.
We did.
He made some good points, and I agreed with most of them. They destroyed the last song. It was too bitty.
Yeah.
They ruined it. They killed the suspense. Ariana Grande wasn't better.
No,
Cynthia Erivo.
She wasn't. Cynthia Erivo
was fantastic.
Give that woman an Oscar. If you don't give her an Oscar, I'm calling racism on this shit. I don't give a shit. And I can't wait for the Oscars because that Oscars not black enough. I hope they bring that shit back. Anyway, that's how I feel about that. And obviously this year, Informally Informed was born.
Informally Informed was born.
Hold my hand. Don't look
I
at my
look
hand
at
like
you,
that.
but I don't want to touch you.
Why you got to be this way? Who hurt you? Don't touch me now. My terms are nothing else. Anyway, yeah, but that happened this year, and I'm glad that happened this year.
Comedy Unleashed started in Manchester.
It did.
Anybody who's in Manchester, they should totally go check that out.
Might as well.
It was good. It was awesome. And that's done really well, actually. We've had some really good comedians on, and we're going to keep that going into 2025. So it's nice to have free-thinking comedy without rules and restrictions, which has been fun.
Yeah. I do think that, personally, it's been a weird year. But, you know what?
It feels like it's gone really quickly, but at the same time, really slowly. I spent 2 months in America this year. 2 months. Garcia came over to visit me for the week of the eclipse.
Yeah.
That feels like such a long time ago.
It does, doesn't it? I never remember the first 6 months of the year. Never. And then the second...
The Southpaw stabbing was 6 months ago.
Was it?
July.
Oh, wow.
End of July.
Yeah. I feel old.
Yeah, because we had that barbecue the weekend of the riots. Do you remember your
Oh
house?
yeah, we did, and I was glad because we didn't go to any of the protests / get arrested. So that's great. Yeah.
Keir Starmer called everybody far right.
Yes, he did. That was that weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember it vividly.
Yeah. But yeah, 2024 was a weird year. Some highs, some lows, some very low lows.
Some very high highs.
Name one high.
The eclipse. Going to America. Going to Copenhagen.
We did a lot of
started
traveling.
this podcast.
Fine,
we did
fine,
loads of cool
fine,
stuff
fine.
this year.
Yeah, all right. Fine.
You got a puppy.
Oh yeah, Kale. Kale happened this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, all right. When you lay it out like that. But you know what? It's fine because onwards and upwards. And here's to 2025.
And yeah, next episode we're going to be talking about
Our predictions for 2025.
which is great because it's going to be the first episode in the new year as well.
Yes, it will.
So yeah,
Let's see how this goes.
And let us know what if we've missed anything. If something stuck out for you this year that we didn't mention, that we should have mentioned, or even something fun that happened in your life. Tell us about your successes,
What
your
were
failures.
your highs and your low lows?
Give us some schadenfreude, I guess.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one. Obligatory thumb.
I'm just gonna leave this whole fucking thing in now. This whole ending is getting left in. I'm leaving that in.
Please don't leave that in.
I'm leaving that in. I'm leaving
Do
that
not
in.
leave that in.
I'm leaving it
Don't
in.
be evil. Who? Don't be evil.
Have you met me?
I have. That's why I'm asking you not to leave it in. I'll get revenge. Let us know if you agree or disagree with any of our views. That's the point of the conversation. Join in.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell.